Good day, viewers. I am creating these videos to support teachers of maths in helping their learners make sense of mathematical concepts and their associated procedures and processes. And today I want to have a look at the mean and the calculation of the mean for a set of raw data, for a list of numbers. And I'm going to use my counters here to help me with that. So let's have a look at a list of numbers. I'm going to take the list 2, 3, 4, and 7. So there's my list. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to build each of those numbers as a bar model, in effect, using these counters. So here is, oh, no, we'll keep it a square. Okay, so here is 2. And then next to this, we're going to have 3. And then next to this, we're going to have 4. And then next to this, we're going to have 7. And I'm using squares. But of course, you can just use ordinary counters for this. It really doesn't matter which way around you go with something like this. But here I have my numbers 2, 3, 4, and 7. I could have those in any order, of course. It doesn't matter at all. And so what I'm going to say to my learners here is, okay, what I'd like you to do is move these counters around or move these squares around without removing any and without putting any extra in to create four towers. So I want the same number of towers, but I want them all to have the same height. And so we might play around with that for a little bit, and we might say, well, okay, if I put that there, those two have got the same height. And if I put that there and that there, those two have got the same height. Okay, so they all have the same height. So now I've not removed any counters and I've not added any extra counters in, and I've still got 4 towers, but now they all have a height of 4. And what I'm going to say to kids is that's mean. That's what mean is. Technically, that's one way of thinking about mean. That's one way of making sense of mean. Mean can be about this evening out process, making the big ones smaller, the smaller ones bigger, so we arrive at that same height without adding anything, without subtracting anything, and making sure we have the same number of towers when we're done. And so the conversation will then turn to, okay, so what's a good strategy for doing that in all cases? Because obviously what we've done there is kind of just played around with it a little bit until we've sort of figured out, oh yeah, well, if we do that, we do that. What's a good strategy for doing that in all cases? Well, a great strategy for doing that in all cases is if I make one big tower here, and I might have to zoom out a little bit. Oh dear, it's lost it. But if I make one big tower here, so I take my 2 and then I add on my 3 and then my 4 and then my 7, I could have probably made that a little bit bigger, then that's all of my counters. And now because I know I need 4 towers, I can just split that equally into 4 equal towers. And in fact, the way I'm going to do that is to literally just drag them in 4 equal towers. And so on and so on. And of course, the point about this is that would work with any number of towers, and it would work with any numbers in each tower, any number of counters in each tower. If I just create a big long line of them and then break it up into equal bits, that will always produce the right number of towers at the right height, all at the same height. And of course, what we're doing there is we're motivating this idea that if I find the total length, and I don't like saying add them all up here because that leads to all sorts of problems when I want to talk about mean in other contexts, or when I want to talk about having a mean, or when we're talking about mean from tables, things like that. So I don't want to use the words add them all up here, but finding the total length of all of those and then splitting it equally amongst how many towers we want to have. Okay, and then we can do some other things around total. It's like, well, I can just say to you, what if I gave you a total of 15 counters and said I wanted 5 towers? what would the mean be there? And we could even go as far, potentially, obviously not with these because we can't split these up, but potentially go as far as having results that are not integers and not positive integers, and stuff like that. So that's my short video on one model for the mean and how it might help make sense of this process of totaling up and sharing, and how we might be able to see why that is a good strategy for finding mean in this case. But I want to really draw your attention to the fact that that's a strategy. What we're aiming to achieve with that strategy is this evened out process, this equaled out set of numbers. And that's what we're actually getting at when we're talking about mean, or one of the ways, and there are other ways of thinking about mean, but that's one of the ways of thinking about mean that is helpful and that is useful. So that is my short video on mean, and mean with raw data in particular. As always, I'd like to say a big thank you to mathspot.com and its creator, Jonathan Hall, for the fantastic website that he has created that's got all these wonderful virtual manipulatives on that I'm using to bring you these videos. But not only the virtual manipulatives, there are a huge amount of other resources on there for teachers of maths that you will find make your life easier as a maths teacher. I can guarantee it. So if you've not been onto that website yet and had a good look around it and seen all the things that it could do, then please do take the time to do that. And again, if you are interested in using visuals and representation and manipulative to support your learners in making sense of mathematical concepts and their associated procedures and processes, then can I recommend you check out my website? My website is visiblemaths.co.uk. And among the many things you'll find on there, you will find a section that says Visible Maths Book. And that's because I wrote a book called Visible Maths, which is why the website is called that. And in that section of the website, you'll find a link to the publisher. The publisher is Crown House Publishing. And on the link, you will be able to view some sample pages. And if you feel like it will be a useful addition to your teaching and learning library, you can, of course, place an order. I will be creating these videos throughout lockdown and potentially beyond. So if there is a particular process or procedure or concept that you feel like you would want exploring or modeling with manipulatives or visuals or any sort of representation, then please do get in touch and I will try and get around to creating it for you. Thank you very much for your kind attention today.